Matron. Making sure the splines are aligned, activating the streamatron, instigating coffee drive, installing cheese upgrade. Holy shit, it's 2019. What do you know? We're in the future. How's it going, everybody? Nice to see you. Hopefully I've got a healthy stream today. My internet's a little bit slow because it's kind of rainy and stormy. Hey Dragonlord, Stanchgate, Daniel, Voltides, Jacob, Eric, Boonblade, Morgan, how's it going? Just going to pop out the chat here so I can see what everybody's saying. Boy, it's been a bit of a break in between our live streams, hasn't it? Whack! Why is everybody on Warhammer 40k this morning? What have I missed? Hey Jeremy. Hey Chauncey. So I promised that there will be less cheese and more art in this particular live stream. I actually do have a pretty intense cheese. It's a Mesopotamian blue cheese. I'm not sure how they managed to go back in time to ancient Mesopotamia, but there you go. So, in order to prepare this cheese properly, I had to cut off the outer layer and the gunk and the mank and the stuff that was built up on it. I'm a new purveyor of blue cheese. For the longest time, I could not handle eating blue cheese at all. So, here we go. Oh. Well, that is just delicious. Very creamy texture. With a beyond sharp bite of that very intense blue mold through it. It's got a really lovely finish, quite clean finish. It tastes the same all the way through. Hey Danny, what do you got? Question. What's this year for the Glue Stick? Oh, well, we'll talk about that. So, Happy New Year. You cook so long the year change. Oh, by the way, hey, also, question. If a dragon egg is left in the Feywild, will it become a Fey dragon perhaps? Possibly, yeah. Possibly. There's certainly an argument for Gilliman is back? What? Wow, that's pretty big. Reboot Gilliman is back. Loth of Slaanesh, yeah. So dragons do absorb a bit of the energy of the environment. So if they grow to adulthood within the Feywild, then yeah, they'll probably pick up some Fey traits. Much like a template that you just apply on top of it, just like the Shadow Dragons. Hello, linguistically oversight. Currently converting the 3.5 edition D&D world to 40k setting. Somebody's already done the work for you. If you search for that sort of thing, you'll find that there's been a few conversion. Where do you get all your hats? I'm kind of settled on this cheese cutter hat. This is my hat to go now. I had a couple of other ones, and I got this from I think it was Germany via China. Possibly Brussels, I'm not sure. Nid Nation. So today, I wanted to introduce you, people who have not been with me for years and years, what my other passion is. So you know that I can draw, but I also sculpt. This is a big lump of plasticine. Plasticine is wax and oils mixed together to make a permanent putty. So it never goes hard, it never dries out. I suppose it can dry out, but you can just add in some extra oils to it. And so what I'm producing at the moment is I'm just the very starting sculpt for the basic shapes of the head of a garden gnome, and I produced the head first as kind of a rough guide to the proportions of the rest of the body. The head of the gnome, the garden gnome, is much larger in proportion to the rest of this body than a human, of course. So its total body mass will be not much more than this. So they're supposed to be about 3 apples high, your average gnome. And I sculpt very detailed, more sort of traditional garden gnomes. And once I've finished sculpting it, I then get this stuff, which is liquid latex, and I thicken it with this stuff called dragon snot, which is an agent, a very goopy agent that you add into. It's like 10 mils per 1 litre of liquid latex to make those sort of hard sleeve molds that you cast. So I brush it on and mold the garden gnome, brush on a fine layer and then a thicker layer to make that sleeve that you can then pull off, and then fill it up with cement or plaster of Paris or Peltire or some other sort of material. And yeah, Bob's your uncle. You've got a near endless stream of garden gnomes. How long does it take you to mold a full model? The actual bodywork and stuff I can do in a couple of hours. The beard is made up of individual strands of rolled out plasticine though, so I actually make all of the filaments of the beard. I don't use a texturing tool to make that. So it's quite detailed. But the beards really make the garden gnome. You got to pay attention to things like that, and it really does pay off the extra effort. What other questions have we got here? You made your Fae very advanced. They were shocked to find themselves staring down 10 fairies with AR-15s and sawed-off shotguns. Nice. The grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there is only Primaris lieutenants. You own your own line of artisanal cheeses. Well, it's funny you should mention that, because for Christmas, my dad and I both bought each other an artisanal cheese making kit. So it's got, you know, a curd cutting knife, and it's got a colander, and it's got the rennet and all that sort of stuff. So all we basically got to do now is source ourselves some unpasteurized milk, which luckily we can get in all over the place in New Zealand. Also, my brother works at a share milking farm, so he can actually, whenever he comes to visit, he can bring over litres and litres of milk as well. And we can make our own cheese. So chances are, yeah, I'll be making my own artisanal cheese very soon. However, I won't be able to send it anywhere else in the world to anyone else, because you can't send cheese through the post unless it's commercially produced. Boy, that was a strong bit of cheese. Ever made a red cap? I'm thinking about it. Basically, all garden gnomes kind of are red caps in the first place. Most of them have red caps. Milk those chickens. Have you heard of the Dark Matter Kickstarter? No, I haven't. Unfortunately, you can't post a link on the chat. But if you post a link in the discussion underneath the video once I upload it, I'll check it out. Stamscape. So molding a full model for something like this, because I'm going to be doing it for molding purposes, I want to put a lot of detail and work into it to make sure it's just right. So I don't have a time limit, and I don't know exactly how long it's going to be. It could be days, it could be weeks. I really don't know. The beauty of plasticine, though, is you can do it over and over and over again. And once you learn the tricks of this material, it's very straightforward. Also, I've got to say that it builds up a tremendous amount of strength in your hands, because particularly I've got various different types of plasticines of different manufacturers and things, and they have different consistencies and hardnesses. and I mix them together to get the just right consistency. Like I like a plasticine that you can pinch like that. That's relatively soft, whereas this plasticine is relatively hard. You can't just pinch it like that without a tremendous amount of strength in your fingers. Cheese logs. How much do you charge for your molds, and what's your favorite mold you've ever made? I'm not going to be selling them. I do this. I'm not a. So like what I'll be doing is producing the molds and then making the garden gnomes, and then I'll be painting them and lacquering them to make sure that they're safe for the outside, and then I'll be putting them out on the stall next to our avocados and mandarins and things like that. And if people want to pay $5 for one, they can buy one. Yeah, but I just do it for the sheer enjoyment of it. That's not. I don't make garden gnomes professionally, although they're certainly a professional level. Bolt guns are pretty cool. Not all red caps are gnomes. Yeah, obviously. So garden gnomes, the tradition of garden gnomes, well, the tradition that I'll be endorsing with the production of these garden gnomes is, it stretches about 5,000 years back in history. So a lot of different cultures had they call them a fetish, basically, which is a anthropomorphized representation of the spirit of, or the emotional attachment to the land. And this is typically, a garden gnome is a friendly representation of the place where you live. So if you appreciate your garden giving you a bounteous harvest, and the fact that you have a real fondness and feeling for the home that you live in, you personify that as a little shrine, a little figure. And that's where garden gnomes come from, basically. And everything else is built up around then. Originally it was just like a stick in the ground with a face on it. Almost like a grave marker, but it represented a living thing, not a dead thing. And that's where the name kobold comes from, is actually the name for garden gnome in the original Germanic. I'm not entirely sure where gnome comes from. Actually, yeah, I've seen something like that, Danny, where somebody got reincarnated as a gelatinous cube. That is hilarious. It's a Nelf. It's a Gnelf. No matter what type of fantasy setting you like, be it D&D, Warhammer, or anything else, we can all agree that those filthy elves must die. Hey, Brandon. William Bowron is the father of New Zealand cheese. Oh, is he? Interesting. Did you just Google that? Or are you a aficionado of New Zealand? I thought that was the mineral cobalt. No, cobalt is named after the garden gnomes. I think. Don't get me wrong. Because cobalt, obviously, the spelling is different. Gnoomed! Reincarnated as a slime. Yeah, can you imagine? Just to remind everybody, for 2019, that this is a monetized channel. Super chats are optimized. And if for every dollar that is donated, I will extend the live stream for 1 minute past the hour. If you enjoy my company. Also, I'm only going to be live streaming 1 day a week, which will be today around this time every single week. So set an alarm on your phone. I'll be live streaming between 10:30 and 11, and I'll be going for an hour. It's Hebrew for must be punted. Oh yeah, I do want to hear it, Danny. No politics, Danny. Yeah, you made it, James. How's it going? Gnome isn't a Hebrew word, yeah, obviously. Turn the gnomes into diamonds. Turn them back into diamonds, according to the lore of the Forgotten Realms. You don't trust the Wi-Fi? Alright. I live on the edgy edge of the internet. I honestly believe that you're being monitored all the time. So everything I do, I just imagine that some clerk somewhere is monitoring a computer stream, and every now and then a green light will pop on. It's representing that I've just downloaded a movie or something. Cowboy Bebop is your Spelljammer inspiration. Interesting. So people have requested that I do a video on the colossal and the awesome size categories. I didn't realize that there was so little information in 5th edition for it, but apparently, yeah, nobody had any idea that there was an awesome size category. And there is. It does originally pop up in Spelljammer. You can see it used to depict things like giant space hamsters and, I don't know, asteroids and things like that, and Spelljammer ships. I was a joke, a lawyer who just... I see. I'm just kidding. I'm just saying that the word politics is enough to trigger somebody. Danny. I've had people go off at me before about my political views or something. Also, that post that I made about having a little squad of dislikers, boy, that got a lot of traction. There's like 400 and something or odd people tuned in on that, and tons of messages of support from everybody. Honestly, it was just an offhand quip. I didn't want to seem like, you know, arrogant or anything. Bonjour, ¿cómo estás? Muy bien, thank you. Giant space hamsters. Yeah, there are giant space hamsters in Spelljammer. It's a meme, it's a joke, but it's also real. Morning, Zazik. Gnolum. A gnolum. Is it a gnolum made of gnomes or made by gnomes? It spawned you! You're my nemesis. Good morning. I'm glad you made it. You get 10 points for dedication. I pulled out the party wipe beast in the campaign. They are all dead. 4 corpses hung from the grave treader oak, and new characters are on the way. Excellent. I think everybody needs to have a TPK at least once in their adventuring career. What are some other bucket list things that people need to do in Dungeons and Dragons? Definitely fight a beholder and fight a mind flayer. Absolutely. Those are on the go-to list. Walk into a gelatinous cube, for sure. Fall into a pit of acid, definitely. Get thrown by a giant, or used as an improvised weapon by a giant. It's corpse mound made of gnomes. Yeah. Shambling corpse mound. What's this ho in the title? Onward ho! It should be O-O-O, I suppose. It's an echo of Christmas. Become a lich. Do gazers count? Yeah, I think gazers count. Particularly throwing a gazer up against a low-level party, because they don't know that it's not a mind flayer. They haven't got time to count the tentacles, the eye stalks. Mind flayer golem. Your TPK of choice is Krampus the Yuletide Beholder. My TPK of choice would be putting explosives anywhere in the scene that the instigator of the party can throw a fireball at. Because they will. Fight a red dragon with a Gith rider. Hey Morgan, thank you. The Pacific Rim golems punch dragons. That's true, they do. Yeah. Have you ever had a character construct a golem on their own? Like go through the entire process of making a golem? That'd be a Colossus, yeah, I suppose so. Is he referring to hoes in the title? Nah. Yeah, befriend the dragons. Don't slay them. Unless they're evil dragons. Can a chromatic dragon be can be rehabilitated? Perhaps. Yeah, explosive runes are fantastic. One of the best things in D&D ever. Explosive runes for fun and profit. Dun, 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 dun. What I want to know is, why can't a dragon pick up a character and throw them into the air and let gravity do the work? They can. The damage is not going to be huge though. So they throw them up a certain height, and past a certain height, I think it's like, how far is it? It's like 20 feet or something before you start inflicting fall damage. And then it's like 1d6 per 10 feet. Or is it? Yeah, something like that. You killed a black dragon with a sharpened bamboo barricade. Wow. Summon a Tropus, yeah. Are there any examples of dragons fighting gods? I know about one, but I forget its name. Also, if your party are demigods, how do they try to become higher tiers of gods? I'm curious. So essentially it's invitation only for godhood mostly. Particularly in Forgotten Realms, you have to have the okay of AO in order to attain godhood at all. And it may be that there's like some sort of a blockage to doing for the multi-dimensional connectivity that you need as a god, because you need to be a trans-dimensional being essentially to be a greater god. The level, you have to be prepared for the level of awareness also that gods have. I don't know about you, but if I was suddenly aware of everything going on within 10 miles of somebody mentioning my name, that implies a significant increase in your ability of your brain to process sensory data. So if you've got a human brain and you attain greater god status, your brain's going to get completely overloaded. You'll probably go into severe seizures, possible madness, severe dislocation of your sense of self. So a god is much more than a mortal's capabilities, for sure. As for dragons fighting gods, Bahamut, of course, has fought a number of evil entities. You could argue that, say, a Shardalon, who I mentioned in the Blight video, he's definitely a dragon demigod. He's got a significant cult following. That's why the gods are so crazy. Yeah. That's also why the gods don't communicate individually. Somebody mentioned in one of my previous videos about were-rats, lycanthropy, that a paladin who is inflicted with lycanthropy and they suddenly are cut off from their lawful good deity, from their good deity anyway, who essentially just stops granting powers to evil creatures, and they've become an evil creature whether they realize it or not. So they don't necessarily need to know that they have lycanthropy. And the person commented, well, why wouldn't the god just tell them that they've been inflicted with lycanthropy? And the obvious answer, of course, is plot, story hooks, motivation for your character to do stuff, and the mystery of it all. Like keeping the character in a level of suspense, why their primary stuff that their character's good at has gone suddenly, because they didn't pay attention to the fact that they got bitten by a lycanthrope and now they're infected. Also, they're on the trail of a murderer who keeps showing up at night, leaves no trace of where they're going, or seems to be leading a trail of clues back to the paladin itself. And the paladin is like, who is this person? I can't find them. Turns out it's them. And the question of why doesn't starting to take shape. Why doesn't a god communicate directly with the paladin and say, look, you've been inflicted with lycanthropy. You need to do something about it. Because the god is just too busy. They are involved in multi-dimensional politics, multi-dimensional activities. Every single time some worshipper whispers their name, they are aware of everything that's going on within a few miles of that location. So they're locked in this cycle of observing and subtly manipulating events over vast areas. They don't have time to focus down in a laser focus on one individual who at that time is not particularly important to their plans and schemes and goals. If it so happens that they've been infected with lycanthropy and it's right at a pivotal point of what that god is trying to achieve in that mortal realm, they may intervene, and possibly an avatar or some other thing would communicate with that person directly, but probably not a greater god themselves. Being in communication with that level of mentality and might just blow their noodle. Much like in Dogma, how when Alanis Morissette opens up her mouth and talks, it blows out the chest cavity of any non-angelic being, because they just can't handle the awesome power of a divine entity. Hope that answers your question. If that was a question, or was I just ranting? The gods must be crazy. That's a pretty old reference now, Joe. A minor dragon god who's Baphomet's sister. Baphomet or Bahamut? Different entities. Source of yellow chromatic dragons. Oh, interesting. Has Earth ever been mentioned in D&D lore by characters in passing? Was that something only players do in campaigns? No, absolutely has been mentioned. So the Mulan people of the Forgotten Realms are a combination of ancient Babylonian and Mesopotamian or Egyptian. So during the time of the Imaskari Empire, they brought over beings from another world, from two different time streams, and those were humans from Earth. That's also how we establish the time difference between the Forgotten Realms calendar and Earth's current year. So it's still the current date in the Forgotten Realms that we're exploring in the stories is actually in Earth's past. It's around the 17th or 18th century. Or early 18th century. Mid 17th, early 18th century, I think. Rhinos do stamp out fires, yeah. The god not telling. Also, the paladin has lost contact with the god, so then the god would have to send a variety of clues to set the paladin straight, as some mendicant seeks paladins out. Yeah, so what is normally what would happen in the past, if a god has suddenly cut a paladin off from their divine power, the paladin would then go on a quest to appease the god's wrath with them. So they're basically trying to make amends. Players in older editions of the game would just automatically do that. They'd go, oh, I must have done something to contravene the strict rules of being a paladin, according to my faith. What did I do? And the dungeon master isn't going to tell them. He's just going to say, well, look, your god's not happy with you. Why? I don't know. You're going to have to cast divination or something like that, or go to a seer or a major Catholic, not Catholic, a major bishop of your church or something like that, and find out. But it's always a source of a major quest arc for that particular character. Don't just hand things to your characters on a plate, your players on a platter. Say, oh, here you go. There's the answer to all your problems. Pfft, no, you don't get any drama that way. You wish the stream had more cheese. So the cheese of the day is a Mesopotamian blue. If you could observe very closely the foul-fetid mank, which is permeating its way and festering and trying to eat the rest of it slowly. This is what I'm putting in my body. Hey, thanks, Morgan. A Tiamat class ship named Bahamut. Oh. That's not ship as in relationship, is it? Tiamat and Bahamut were originally supposed to be sibling lovers. Didn't work out that way. Someone invents a nuke, walks up to the biggest church they can find and says, hey, make me a god or I blow up the temple pretty please for some reason. The 5 makes me laugh. Yeah, no, that wouldn't work. Oh, thanks, Amanda. You're most welcome. Mold. Well, stick around, Rain. We've almost finished the monster manual. I've got about 30 odd vids still to go. I've got a list of things which people want me to do on the side. Hey, Durable. So yeah, essentially you'll see that the videos are coming out in sort of an alphabetical order as I'm making my way through things that I haven't yet covered in the monster manual. So it's Ankeg, you know, and the next one's Cambion. Beelzebub. Can a sorcerer become a lich? Absolutely they can. Yep, for sure. Is Bahamut just Paladine the Platinum Dragon by another name? I think so, yes. I think so. Possibly. I don't I can't answer that one for certain. I'm not that up to speed on old Greyhawk lore. Or is that that's not right. Was that Dragonlance? Kryn. No, it wouldn't be Kryn. Fiendfolio next. Pretty much I've got the Creature Codex, I've got the Tome of Beasts, I've got the Tome of Horrors, all sorts of homebrewed stuff. I want to start doing some adventure arcs for people. There's more broadcast games on the way. I've got one which I'm going to be editing later this afternoon and uploading pretty soon. So that'll probably be for your morning. And as soon as I've done that, or while I'm doing that, I'm also doing the video on the Cambion as well. So we are full steam ahead here at the Mighty Glue Stick. The Kinder are so cancerous. Have they been killed yet? No. I know they get a lot of hate, but they're just halflings. Honestly. You're basing your hate on one individual character. Tasselhoff Barefoot. Got 99 problems, but a lich ain't one. Everyone remembers the D&D cartoon and that damn unicorn. That's not your avatar picture, is it? I can't tell. Is that a unicorn? No. Tortle Sorcerers. I'm okay with Tortle Sorcerers. It does need to be remade. We need a Netflix live show of the Dragonlance cartoon. Not the Dragonlance cartoon, the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. Would you make a new card and Alexander Anderson from Hellsing Ultimate Abridged or Hellsing Ultimate? They both could watch them both. And what? How would you make them? I'm not. I've watched a little bit of the Hellsing stuff, but not a lot. Sorry, not all Kinder. Yeah. I do like the Van Helsing cartoons. They are very good. From what I saw of it, but I just wasn't that into it. Vampires are a bit one-dimensional for me. I never thought about the rocks looking like chickens hunting for ant eggs. I've got a laugh out of that image as well, yeah. The idea that ant eggs would be like the rocks are like giant chickens scratching for grubs, and the grubs are actually ant eggs. It's hilarious. It's like, what does that sound as the farmer's hovel is like shaking to pieces, and it's outside in the cornfield, this rock is tearing up great clods of soil. And, the evil gods kept bringing them back. Wow. The evil gods in that particular case are a certain bunch of authors. Can we expect a video discussing anti-magic weapons? I'm curious as I have a character that has a sentient anti-magic weapon that operates on ki. Oh, interesting. It's Kenda! Doth not mention Tasselhoff or Uni. A unicorn with shotgun and grenades. Would you say that it's possible for weapons... what? Would you say it's possible for a Mind Flayer to convert a giant humanoid into a Mind Flayer if it continuously pumped it with potions of reduced person for the duration of the conversion process? Wow, that's a really good question. Yeah, I think it would be. I think it would be. Once the the size reduction potions wear off, once seromorphosis is complete and it then goes back up to full size, maybe it becomes like ravenously hungry because there's that lack of nutrition. Stop doing role-playing stuff and become a cheese review channel. Yeah, maybe I should. I don't know. I'll do a separate live stream just for cheese. Mesopotamian blue cheese. That slice was a bit milder than the last one I had. Hey, William Blowers. Blowers? You have been noticed. A cheese wizard? I am a cheese wizard. A unicorn with a bane blade. Imagine that bane blade's got like rhinestoned. It's been bedazzled. And it shoots radiant beams. A gnome paladin riding a unicorn? Absolutely. I'm okay with that. Would axe poison, instead of being a unique substance, be a type of powerful anti-magical enchantment one can place on a poison that you really, really, really want something to die? Possibly. I mean, it could be both. It could be the universe's most potent poison that can then be enchanted to be even more poisonous. Cheese wizard. Not the wizard that you wanted, it's the wizard that you needed. See you later, Snatchgate. Nice to see you. I'm glad I started the stream a bit early so I could catch up with you guys. Cheese whiz. Great giant mind flayers in the sky! Hunts giant brains. Yeah, it could be a giant, a mind flayer that hunts specifically other giants. That's terrifying. Sadio, yeah. They probably disregard him because he stays out of the conflict between Bahamut and Tiamat. Remember, Tiamat and Bahamut are in conflict with each other via proxy, so they don't often directly confront each other. They do it much like the superpowers of our world. They use proxy created races, Dragonborn, Abishai, that sort of thing, and they fight each other in fronts in various places. Now that the Dragon Rage mythal has been broken on the world of Toril, they are becoming far more active in the affairs of Toralians. And don't forget, for a very long time on Toril, dragons were the ruling elite of elven and dwarven and human society, so particularly the elves. And a good example of that is some of the earlier novels. I'm actually listening to an audiobook of one at the moment, which talks a lot about elven history. And for a lot of the elven history, their lieges, their divine ruling class was dragons, gold dragons and silver dragons and things. Hey DMJ, how's it going? Basically D&D, everybody. All pay homage to the main man, the old school, the original D&D YouTuber. It's going great. Homebrew class school of wizard pasteurization school. Cast Chili Conquesto. Take 3d10 spicy damage. You filthy orc. No, it's got a fondue lake. It's a cheese fortress with a fondue lake. Yeah, dragons basically were the 99%. They were the 2%. They were the ruling elite. And then when the Dragon Rage mythal arrived, which was made by elves, it threw them into chaos. So they destroyed everything they had built up. And of course, they couldn't rule if it, that wasn't relied upon. They could occasionally go crazy and kill everyone, including their own offspring, all of their counselors. And so the mortal races said, no, we're not going to let you in our castles. Yeah, absolutely. So I personally am quite okay with the idea of researching a particular time period in the Forgotten Realms, say, and then your adventure arc for that particular part of the campaign is going back in time to that specific time period and actually being able to change the course of history. It could be that you need to achieve certain objectives in the past so that something in the future is not as insurmountable as it once was. So they could be in the service of a great wizard, go into bat against some incursion of a demon lord and get killed, and then they get snapped back to a point in time where just before they died, and the wizard says, right, I'm going to send you back in time because and off in the distance is their characters about to go in and get killed, and says, right, we got to prevent this from happening. I'm going to send you back in time to stop that, stop the major cultist having the weapon of this demon lord that empowers him so much on the mortal plane. So you need to go back and stop the construction of that weapon in the first place. So this is still going to happen, but he won't have the sword that killed the druid and the fighter. Yeah, it was a nuclear mythal attack. Also, don't forget that the elves did nothing. The mythals are a major investment by the elves as well, because they quite often lose powerful wizards in the process of creating those. The mythals quite often require the ever-living soul of an elf to stop its reincarnation process and just go into keeping that mythal going. That's why the mythals are so hard to break. And that's why in my video about the keep, Hell's Gate Keep, that artifact which can break a mythal is so incredibly powerful. Well, storm giants can increase their numbers the old-fashioned way, but they just don't. Let's see. I mean, the real life people like us, why do we and even Wizards of the Coast ignore him and gem dragons the way like they never happened? Gems were even a player race in one game at one point. Yeah, well, I don't know. I guess the game sort of twos and fro's. Things fall by the wayside, and there's certainly room for things to get brought back into the fold. There's always going to be somebody who objects to some change in the way that D&D happens. There's currently a lot of objections to some of the directions that the game is going, but it doesn't really affect the game itself per se. So a mythal is a very powerful enchantment that's cast as a ritual involving a group of spellcasters all contributing towards it, and generally speaking it's channeling so much power that it permanently knots the flow of magic to either allow a certain effect to happen all the time, or a certain effect to happen when conditions are just so. So in the case of the Dragon Rage mythal, when the Kingkiller star comes, which is like a comet, comes over the planet, it's like a it's like a particular conjunction. Yeah, I was thinking about you, Johnny, when I said that. It's like a particular conjunction that activates a certain wavelength of magical power that surges that mythal, and then all the dragons get like a psychic ping and they go crazy. They go crazy, hyper aggressive for a certain amount of time, and they just rage. They just rage across the populace. They become merciless killer beasts, and they kill everything. But that's been broken. So that no longer happens, which means that dragons don't have to worry about, am I going to go crazy next time that star comes by? So yeah, now they can get back into the swing of dominating the planet. No longer just individual tyrants. They can actually band together. So mythals in locations such as Waterdeep and Silvery Moon They allow certain spells to be cast extremely easily by people who are there, and they also prevent. They can prevent like scrying or teleportation in or out. They make it the weather more clement, that sort of thing. You know, it's like a magical environmental engineering. And in cases of the ancient empire of Netheril, they had something similar to that in the Netherese scrolls that allowed them to chop a mountain top off, flip it over, and levitate it through the sky. And the last one of those that we saw came through from the Shadowfell and almost took over the old territory of the Netherese Empire, but got defeated somewhere off the swamps of Cormyr. So I hope that answers your question a little bit. Sort of glibbed over a lot of it. Last time you played D&D, you destroyed the Thundercats, discarded my Sword of Grayskull, and took up the Sword of Omens, then died on the moon from lack of air. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty fun game. Would the Draco Rage affect Dragonborn? No, it didn't, as far as I know. Nice quote. I remember it was all on a whiteboard. A lot of the models now, and for me, it kills the imagination involved. To each their own, but I think it's a little sad. Well, like if you watch the stream, like a lot of the old school D&D guys are now on YouTube and streaming about it. Bill Cask, Tim Cask he's got a curmudgeon in the dungeon, which he uploads on YouTube every now and then. You should definitely look it up. And he talks about the original game and things like that. Like a lot of the players who worship the ground that Gary Gygax walks on, I'm one of them. But I would not really like playing in his campaigns because he doesn't allow half anything. You can't be a half orc. You can't be a half elf. You know, you're even an elf or a dwarf or a human or a hobbit. That's it. And if you're a spellcaster, you're screwed at first level. He didn't think that people would want to be spellcasters. Honestly, who'd want to be a weedy spellcaster? No, you want to be a Butch Conan dude who's kicking down doors and taking heads. So yeah, he had a much more restrictive style of play. He was pretty much the DM behind the screen, and he would, you know. Yeah, curmudgeon is good listening. He would chop and change the rules as he saw fit. What he said goes. I dare you to pick up a manuscript and say, Gary, according to your own rules, blah, 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 blah. He'd be like, no. The silver dragon in my current game is trapped in a magical helmet. He is very lonely before the players showed up. Now he can't stop talking. Yep. Who wants to alter the fabric of reality on a whim? Me. Hey, Derp. Will I do a video on Strad von Zarovich? Yes. I know I get asked to do that a lot, and I know I keep saying yes. But you understand that the more that people yell at me to do something, the more pressure there is to get it really just like absolutely perfectly right, which kind of delays it getting done because I put more and more and more research into it. I will get it done though, trust me. I'll probably go on a dragon kick, a vampire kick at some point. Hey Stephen. My vast knowledge. Thanks, man. My knowledge is only as vast because I keep doing this every day because you allow me to. So thank you for providing me with a fairly in-depth D&D education. You are doing a D&D DMing homebrew. I wanted to ask what would be some minions of a blue dragon. Definitely a flesh golem. Definitely flesh golems. Anything that can handle getting electrocuted or gets empowered by being electrocuted. For sure. Shock lizards, that sort of thing. And also, dragons can do things like hire wizards to make specific things. So you could have oozes and slimes and stuff that are actually empowered by electricity. So much like a flesh golem is empowered by the electricity that a blue dragon will be blasting, you could have all sorts of other effects. And don't forget to stock its lair full of all sorts of wondrous alchemical technological wonders that react to its electricity, for sure. A were-beholder. That's terrifying. By light of day, he is an ordinary man, but by night, oh, dear God! A flesh golem made by kobolds, yeah, sure. Who was it? The vampire Gilnias, or Gulthias. He made a half-dragon flesh golem at one point, so that could still be around. He could have made 2 or 3. It could have been acquired by a blue dragon. This is, glad you asked, this is actually a monetized D&D channel. So you can actually make super chat donations. I've got a Patreon as well. The Patreon will be linked in the doobly-doo of the video. And also, most of my videos also upload to BitChute as well, and you can donate via PayPal to BitChute if you so desire. It's much appreciated. Hey AJ, what do you think of the Millennial King, the setting created by 1D4chan? I only actually just heard about 1D4chan today, believe it or not. Part of the problem of being forever making D&D video scripts and stuff is I don't get to absorb enough off the beaten track media. So I don't know. I've never heard of it. By all means, put a link in the description underneath the comments underneath the video, and I'll go and check it out. Yubtub 2, the were-beholder Boogaloo. Niv Mizzet, yeah, Niv Mizzet. So I am also going to be, I have been playing a lot of Magic the Gathering Arena as of late, and the videos on Magic the Gathering monsters converted over to 5th edition have been pretty popular, which I'm very happy about because I love doing stuff like that. So I'm going to be bringing you videos on Thools, Drudges, and yeah, various other things. Carvus, Saprolings, that sort of thing. Howdy, partner. Yeah, Yubtub to overthrow the Dragon Empire. You never know when there's always a bigger monster. Did you just assume the dragon has agenda? What do I play in Magic the Gathering? Currently, the decks that I've got is a straight up monstrous green deck, which if I get 6 mana on the board, you are screwed. If you see me play a forest, then a Llanowar elf, and then another forest, attack with the Llanowar elf, and then I put out that maze card that gets me two extra land, you're about to get completely pwned. Because the next thing that pops up is like a 10-10 dragon dinosaur followed by a 12-12 dinosaur on like round 5 or 6. And it's extremely vicious. I also play a white Magic the Gathering card deck. You have to excuse me, it's getting really hot here and humid. We're in the middle of high summer here in New Zealand. So that's basically it turns any token that you put on the board into a 4/4 flying angel with vigilance. So you're pretty much screwed because you just load up your deck with saprolings and stuff. Gigantosaur, there, that's the one. See, there's heaps of people that play Magic the Gathering. Heaps. It's so great that the two communities are closer together now. You fight Tony the Tiger. ID4chan, imagine a shitposter version of this channel these channels made it into a website. Well, yeah, it's possible. It's 2 degrees in Germany. Whew. Crikey. It's about, let's see, what is the local weather doing now that we ask? I'm kind of curious. This is the first rain we've had in a couple of weeks. It's been real parched. I was at the beach yesterday. Weather in the Bay of Plenty. It is currently 21 degrees. We've got a 56% chance of humidity. That's 21 degrees Celsius. Fahrenheit, that is 69 degrees. And the humidity is 63%. And I'm sitting here in a hat, drinking hot coffee and blue cheese. Things I do. Oops, I've lost my pop-up chat. Just a second. There we go. You assume the Blue Dragon has a gender. We talked about Mythals, talked about ID4chan and the Millennial King and the idea of dragons and giants fighting. Yep, that's pretty much, that covers it. A green stompy deck, yeah, very much. There's a goblin speakeasy under every tavern. And underneath that is a tavern full of were-rats. Selling to both sides. Good evening, Gadzooks. Nice to see you. Hey, Fiona. Hey, Same Rosa. Jimmy, never mind. Fargrim. Wow. All the old classic people popping in. Nice to see you. Yeah, so Guildmeister's Guide to Ravnica really does goblins justice. They are a legit player character race, particularly in that setting. It's minus 20 to minus 30 here with a wind chill. Woo, upstate New York. Yeah, New York really gets some extremes of weather, right? It gets really hot in the summer and really cold in the winter. Hey, thanks, basically, D&D. That's Dungeon Master Johnny, everybody. You should definitely go out and check out his channel. You got an adventure to work on? Yep, he's a hard-working DM. Hard-working DM. You should definitely catch him. He streams a lot of basic D&D type stuff. And he does trap videos, things like that. There's a lot of really good advice channels. He's also got a PDF on building traps, which I've got and use on a regular basis. Rat folk are everywhere, it's true. Wow, that was a long time ago. I remember carrying ants. Dragon crossbreeds. Well, I think it's okay. I think there's a lot of like primacy in dragons. So if a red dragon and a white dragon breed, they're probably going to be red dragon offspring because the red dragons are dominant. You know what I mean? It could be the environment. So if those dragon eggs are then put into snow, they're all going to come out white dragons. Maybe. I don't know. New York is also larger than New Zealand. No, it's not. I think you have a mistaken impression of how big New Zealand is. Population-wise, yes. Population-wise, we've only got about 5 million people, and I think New York's probably got about 6 or 7. Land-wise, we're fairly large. We've got the same sort of land area as Britain. So we could probably fit a few more million people in New Zealand, but we just, you know, that's quite comfy here. Are there any known deep spawn left in Faerun? I wonder if there is any deep spawn in the Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I haven't read through it all yet. I suspect there might be, though. I don't know. As always, though, if you want there to be something in Faerun, just put it in there. It's not like you're writing for D&D. Urds. Just urds. Door kiwis? A pink dragon. A pink dragon breathes fire on you, but you feel cool. So fashionable to be burnt. You'd love to explore New Zealand someday, though I doubt I will ever get around to doing it. Well, you're more than welcome, for sure. Definitely, I would suggest if you're going to visit New Zealand, decide which island you're going to visit. Don't try and do both of them at once. There's too much to see. New York is bigger than Britain too, is it now? Hey, Jimmy, thank you. Thank you. Hello, keep up the great work. I will. Wow. Our live stream's going to be extended a bit more today. Pink dragons are heresy. Cold ice, yeah. Frostbite. Bubblegum breath. Yeah, you could just imagine it. The proud parents, the red dragon and the white dragon looking down at this pink dragon. The pink dragon's got like a little rainbow flag. New York, 302 square miles. New Zealand, 103,483 square miles. Yeah. We got a lot of square miles. Not to mention our outlying islands. Pink breathe explosive ice. Yeah, I like the idea of a pink dragon that has a blue flame breath that freezer burns you, because that's aesthetically pleasing too. Like having a really intense blue jet of flame that comes out, but it's actually intensely cold. £5. Gadzooks, thank you. All the best for 2019. I got Tome of Beasts for Christmas. Were they running out of ideas with the treacle? So weird. I know there's a lot of weird stuff in there, but it's kind of like it's the new Fiend Folio for D&D, kind of. So there is some weird monsters in there for sure. Creature Codex and Tome of Horrors is no better. There's some really weird stuff. A lot of Fae things and stuff in there as well. So I'm going to bring a lot of that stuff too. New York is a pocket dimension. Yeah, don't forget the square footage on upper stories of skyscrapers also counts towards the square miles of an area. So if you calculate all of the skyscrapers, each floor, and add that to the total mileage, how big is New York? LGBTQ dragons, yeah, for sure. Ooh, no. Don't kink shame the dragons. They don't like it. Nice, Sam Riser. Do you have a Discord? Yes, I absolutely have a Discord. There's a link in the doobly-doo below the most of my videos. That'll take you directly to Discord. Also, if you're a Patreon supporter of mine, you get special access to chat and voice chat bit, which is only available to the Patreons. And that's where I will have chats about stuff which is upcoming, and they get to make special requests and things like that. Patrons also get to request specific content from me if they want, and I will produce videos for them. Also, patrons get, occasional exclusive videos that the general public don't get to see. Although there's not that many of them. It's usually about very specific things, and sometimes I'll just release them to the general public anyway, because of the terms of agreement with the open game license of Dungeons and Dragons from Wizards of the Coast. They're very generous, and they allow you to make money off their material, but it has to be freely available to everyone. You can't put stuff behind a paywall. So I have to be very careful about what I do make exclusive to Patreons. It's usually things like my opinion on things, or I'm talking about game rules or mechanics and things like that. Like the video where I could talk about size categories of awesome and colossal. That could be a video that's exclusive, but that will be publicly available to everybody. But things where I'm making like talking about adventure arcs and things, if somebody's asking me about how would you incorporate this in a game, and I could go blah 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 and talk for 20 minutes about just all my ideas for a particular type of campaign, I could make that an exclusive video for patrons. But at the moment, I'm very busy making, getting on the final countdown to completing the the monster manual, core monster manual. Liquid hydrogen. That's a great idea. So a pink dragon breathes a jet of liquid hydrogen, which then ignites. So it's ice cold and then flaming hot. Explosive. That's a great idea. Vampires wouldn't be able to rule over trolls because trolls don't really have blood. They're more like a spongy fungus material. Goblins, probably. Goblins respect the power of vampires anyway. They all flock to powerful leaders. Means the state of New York, which is around 54,556 square miles. So still smaller. The Pride Dragon. Tome of Horrors is a weird book, looks like something an enthusiast published. Well, yeah, basically, but same with the Fiend Folio. The Fiend Folio was contributed by all of the readers of White Dwarf back in the day. It was produced in England by Games Workshop, who now produce Warhammer 40k. Vampires prefer more cultured subjects. Elves, maybe. Dwarves, yes. Humans, oh yes, definitely humans. Yeah, for sure. Wait, trolls are 40k orcs? Yeah, pretty much, kind of. Like, they do have genders, so they can breed normally, whereas orcs and Warhammer 40k don't. They're all one gender. Or they don't have a gender. They just spore. So, Warhammer 40k orcs are kind of like a cross between a mammal and an algae. So they're partially like a vegetative virus. Dragons in drag. Dragons in drag. Dragons in drag. Where can they buy some heels? You still think the pink dragon bubble breath is neato? Yeah, I like that as well. Or a fairy dragon that can breathe a cloud of bubbles that just like, whook, you get entrapped in a bubble. Yeah, I like that as well. A nymph that uses her charm ability to become the glorious leader of those who fanatically fight for her. Yeah. Lycans, yeah. Why would the vampires like to rule over goblins? Why not? New York is almost like a D&D world. It has cities, forests, lakes and rivers and tons of nature and small towns all over the place. Yeah, and it's quite close to Vermont as well. Bubbles are everywhere. Human lives are shorter. Our vitality is a rare fruit that withers quickly and is only ripe for a short time. A delicacy to vampires. Yeah, true. Poetic and true. Weirdly enough, me and the rest of the fans of Warhammer Fantasy have no idea how Warhammer Fantasy trolls reproduce. Who wants to know, honestly? Yeah. That's in the sealed section of the Sage's Library. Excuse me for a second. I'm back. Axe poison dragons. New York has murder hobos too. Yeah, literally. Well, it's the last bit of cheese, everyone. And the last cup of coffee. Would fairy blood be LSD for vampires? Well, I don't know if this is like True Blood. Maybe. If you want to run that sort of campaign, for sure. You got the Army Painter set with the Owlbear Mini, and the set with a Minsk and Boo, and that little hamster thing on his shoulder will be really tricky to paint. Yeah, that's the point too. So I got the Army Painter complete set, which is like 124 pots of paint, and I was looking at the Vallejo racks, paint racks, and the workstations, and there's this other one which is like the Monster paint rack, and the Monster paint rack is actually much better. If you get 2 of those, you'll be able to fit the entire set of Army Painter paints on there, so one of every single pot of paint that they produce, as well as a couple of caddies for your brushes and things. And what you can do is take the big box that all those paints come in, chop out all of the images with the little hexagons with the painkillers on there, and the names, and just paste them on the shelf, the rack behind the pot of paint, so you can tell exactly which one is which. That's my current project. Paint your Wham army for me. No way. Although if there is people out there who are watching this stream who do actually provide miniature painting services, put a link in the description down below. I'll for sure give you a shout out, because there's a lot of people that need that sort of thing, particularly the people who have bought a lot of Kickstarters from Bones Miniatures, or Reaper Miniatures, for instance. Have you ever gotten Heroes of the Forge miniatures before? No, I haven't. I've heard mixed reviews about them, specifically about some of the finer details that are problematic on all sorts of, on all brands of things, so like really fine staff or blades and things like that. Yeah, you've got to be careful about what sort of material you're using and what the design is, because just because it looks good on computer doesn't mean it's going to translate very well into a tough part that's actually very practical on a miniature. For those of you who aren't aware, Heroes Forge allows you to basically, using computer graphics and variable options, you can produce your own miniature and then get it custom built for you, and get custom printed for you. Mind flayers hanging around and preying upon old folks' homes. Well, in D&D, there wouldn't be old folks' homes, generally speaking. They'd go and live with their offspring. A vampire with beholder blood. Beholders, I don't think beholders have blood. Cheese, dollars, coffee, good times. What do vampires think of dragon blood, actually? Well, it'd be a bit tricky, because imagine a dark blood. No, so dragons have part elemental, so their blood is actually infused with elemental force. So there's a good chance that a dragon sinks its fangs into the neck of a dragon and it burns to death from the inside out, or freezes, or explodes in electricity. It just can't handle the power. Then they're not compatible. It's like you've tried to plug your USB into a wall socket. Are the Dark Elder more sadistic than Drow? Yes. Why can't a mind flayer start an old folks' home? Now we're talking. A beholder has blood if it believes it has blood. Well, a beholder has blood if it dreams that its offspring has blood. If it dreams it's got blood, then it produces a beholder that has blood. Because there are vampire beholders, but they don't necessarily have to have blood either. Thanks to me, I'm getting a group together in 2 weeks for a monthly game. No more just going to GaryCon once a year. Current cheese, it was New Zealand organic white extra sharp cheddar. Nice. Thanks, Peter Griffin. Lovely to hear. Happy New Year. Have you checked out the Tome of the Pact on the DM's Guild? Heard it had some interesting stuff. No, I haven't checked that out yet. I'll have to have a look at it. Hey Kim, thank you. Forgotten Realms question. Would Shah and Saloon be more powerful than other greater deities, being some of the first deities? Or yes. Yes, you're quite right, they are. Fargrim, thank you. Hey, here you go, AJ. Buy yourself some more cheese and coffee. Thank you. I'm actually overdue for buying both, so that's topical. Hey, Kedron, nice to see you. So I'll be going for another like 20 minutes, everyone. You just rolled a natural 20, so now you own me. Lovely. Don't do biscuits with my cheese? No, I don't. Because if I have biscuits lying around, crackers, I'll just eat them. Terrible. I'm actually trying to slim down. Dragon power. Saloon is the best god. Zion the Dragon says, then how do vampire dragons exist? Well, it's possible that a dragon eats a vampire and gets infected with vampirism. Just not by being bitten by a vampire, per se. Or a vampire could bite a dragon, die in the process, and the dragon could get vampirism. Perhaps the vampirism itself is more of a curse than a biological infliction. So it could get cursed with vampirism through touching an artifact or a magical item that it shouldn't. There's a Wizard of the Coast book called Practical Guide to Dragon Riding that lists them as a type of vampire. Oh, vampire dragons. Yeah, they are vampire dragons. That's true. What traps should I put in a hedge maze? Maybe some dangerous plants. Yeah, I mean shambling mounds, twig blights, carnivorous plants, sundews, Venus flytraps, that sort of thing. You could also have things like tripwire traps and pit traps and things which are mechanically exactly the same, but they're just represented in the game by a plant of some kind. So it's a plant that fires darts. It's a dart trap. Give it some hit points to deactivate it. Give the player character some sort of a magical weed whacker. Coffee. Episode 7 made you laugh. Needle in the nutsack. Giant speak for arrow into the knee. Yeah. Yeah, our the next episode of the Planescape, the Sigil campaign is going to be uploaded probably later tonight, and it'll be with you guys tomorrow. It takes me a very long time to upload those because the video files are huge. So the session is, I think it's only about an hour and 13 minutes long. The Assassin Vine. Yeah, Assassin Vines are perfect. In D&D, vampires feed on the positive energy in the blood. The dragon's blood is so basically condensed elemental energy, so it would be like putting diesel fuel in a gasoline engine. Yeah, I agree. You're a fan of Bane and the Raven Queen. European biscuits or American biscuits? Crackers, sorry. American crackers. Do you think the Great Mother, Beholder Goddess, came from the universe the Oberths came from, or from the far realm where the Oberths entered the universe? More the latter than the former. I think the Great Beholder Mother could actually be a dream entity. Was perhaps never real. What's your favourite cheese? I haven't found my favourite cheese, Fiona. The search continues. The only dice on my desk nowadays are made from deer bone and are 600 years old. Original Viking dice. Nice. Where did you get hold of those? I wouldn't mind having some. Yes, Gerbil. They could also have sexual congress with a vampire. With magic, anything's possible. When it comes to cleric levels, could a lesser deity give more power to a high level cleric than a greater deity give to a lower level cleric? Yes, yeah. In fact, some patrons of warlocks, for instance, can channel more power through their warlock than they can actually release themselves due to various restrictions. I've seen that mentioned somewhere else. Have a fantastic evening, Mr. Gluestick. I need to head out, and I'll be signing up on your Patreon tonight. Found the conversation enlightening. Later, everyone. Later, Stephen. Thank you very much. Dragon as a Death Knight. Ooh. Silver Dragon Death Knight. I'd like to see that. Morlag Baal divests vampirism on them, obviously. Or Limdul. A bachelor god. Wensleydale. Oh, good choice. Wensleydale is actually on my bucket list of cheeses to produce myself with my artisan cheese making kit. I just need to get some unpasteurized milk and we'll be ready to go. I think it takes about 8 litres of milk though. Can a Tarrasque's corpse be animated by a necromancer? Yes. Is Mystra really dead now in D&D lore? No. I love cheese. Just hire a kobold. So Mystra has... Various incarnations of Mystra have died at various points. So Mistral and Mystra is currently around as well. No, there were some gods that died, and gods can come back to life just like mortals can. So they come in and out. They're like Marvel superheroes or DC superheroes. You can kill Batman, Superman for a while, but everybody knew he was coming back. I wonder if there's any mundane plane critters or plants that evolved naturally to eat fey critters like fairies. Not as far as I know. No, I don't know. I don't think so. Are there amber dragons? How do non-mineral gem dragons work? I don't know, Panda. Pada, your guess is as good as mine. One version of shadow dragons prey on stuff like vampires, so I'm pretty sure they couldn't become one given the prey that are they prey on undead heavily. Well, yeah, maybe maybe the fact that they are shadow dragons prevents them from becoming undead because they're already shadow stuff, whereas other dragons may be vulnerable to it. I don't know. Hey November Mind, thank you very much. Name 3 magical items my 5th level transmutation wizard should look to find. Bag of holding, immovable rod, and boots of elvenkind. Or, let's see, staff of power, cloak of eyes, bag of holding. Should always have a bag of holding. For sure. Tanaruks wear leather vests on motorbikes. Yeah. Vampire blood wine with some mucking cheese. Dwarf Fortress. It's very D&D, but for one player. Oh, okay. Gauntlets of Goblin's Power, the Cloak of Misremembering, and a folding boat. That's a good choice. Good utility there. What happens if a vampire drains a god dry? The god just manifests another body somewhere else. Unless it's on the god's home plane of existence, in which case I doubt a vampire gets anywhere close to it. But the body itself of a god is just usually just a mundane thing. It's just a construct that they've made. They're no longer technically a incarnate entity. Yeah, that's one hell of a roll on the carousing roll, Daniel. What happened to me last night? You had sex with a dragon, dude. I did? Yeah, you need to get to a clinic. Real fast. A gibbering mouther of dragons. Hat of Hats. It's a magic item that changes into multiple hats. My D&D game has an atheist god, but he doesn't believe in himself. He thinks he lives in a board game. Interesting. His Mystra has died more times than Kenny, but she keeps coming back. Yep. She's like the Energizer Bunny. How did you avoid death this time? Magic. Portable hole, yeah. Red dragons can learn shapes and change spells, yeah, for sure. Why is my thingy not scrolling down of its own accord? The prison wallet of holding. My cousin is a history PhD. He got them in Denmark a few years ago,
and gave them to me for Christmas. Ah, okay. So where did he get hold of them? I only ask because you may have stolen them from my family. Maybe not. I'm just joking. Pants of holding. Deck of many things. No. Mark. Yes, I will. Absolutely, for sure. And I have done in the past. And I'll continue to do so. Yeah, Kobold Press is one of my favourites. Tome of Beasts, Creature Codex, Tome of Horrors. Pool of... What is it? Oh, there's another book which I'm going to be reviewing later on, which everybody should own. Let's see, what's it called? Just a second. One moment, please. Spawning Pool of the Elder Things. It's a massive tome. I think it's like 700 pages of absolute awesome D&D stuff. I think it might be a bit system neutral, but allows you to create all sorts of different creatures and things. It's really, really good. Yeah. I'd say if I was stuck on a desert island with nothing to read, and I could only take along a couple of things to read, I'd take along the Spawning Pool of the Elder Things, Dune, and what else? Biography of Billy Connolly, maybe. Possibly, William. Yeah. There should be a table, for sure. Book review, yeah. Vampiric Elder Brain. The Spawning Pool of the Elder Things, I don't think it's publicly available at the moment. I'm not entirely sure. Just search on Google for Spawning Pool of Elder Things, and you might find a version of it somewhere. Was watching Matt Colville populate the city for his upcoming campaign. He put 3,000 drow underneath. Admitted he didn't know much about drow. Surely 3,000 drow under your city would be disastrous. Absolutely. Absolutely. 3,000 magically empowered psychopathic drow. Yeah. They would quickly dominate. Yeah, Dragonblood Sorcerer. How do you think that happens? Fire crabs, groin melt, scale rot. Nice. Do you think after you upload all your vids, might want to write this down, you think you could make a solo vid on Sardior, like Bahamut and Tiamat? Yeah, possibly. My list book is in the next room, but I'll make a note. Hang on. Sardior. Bro of Bahamut. Actually misspelled that as Bahamut, but that's right. What's been my favourite character play? Something like a gnome bard or a wizard or a sorcerer sometimes. Not so much a sorcerer. Warlocks. I generally like intelligent characters who have a lot of skills, who also are able to cast spells, typically. But I also like to vary my character. So if a character is too much like my last one, I will veer off and play something completely opposite. And also I don't get to play that often, so yeah. Adam, I did a video on Dracoliches. You've got some watching to do. November 9, no, they're not. Actually, I answered that in the description, in the discussion chat underneath the Basilisk video, that the eyes can't turn you to stone of their own accord. They're just used as components in magical potions and things like that, of petrification or non-petri or flesh to stone. But they can't turn you to stone just by pointing them at somebody. They're actually activated by the mind of the beholder, the Basilisk. Yeah. I do like Tabaxi, yeah, it's true. "3,000 white dragons." It's actually fascinating to read about how many of Zeus's consorts, the few who survive, wind up as nymphs, minor goddesses, and similar. Yeah, and also get cursed by his wife. It's like, geez, man. You got to say that the Greek gods are very human. They're very carnal in what they do. Vindictive, jealous, angry, vengeful, but also beneficial, benevolent, kind, funny. Would you consider making a lore series on the dragon gods? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was a few months ago, the Dracolich video. My drow are worshippers of comrade and work to overcome the Alfoisie. Oh, I see. The bourgeoisie. What D&D classes would you say are front-loaded with features, and which ones take more time to invest? So, rogues are obviously front-loaded with their sneak attack ability, which they get earlier on. Wizards and various spellcasters, I mean, sorcerers are pretty potent from the get-go. Warlocks in particular, because they have cantrips now, which they can just use all the time. Back in the day, of course, you'd cast a spell and then you got 1d4 hit points and a pointy stick. And barbarians, of course, are pretty potent from the get-go. As they get up in level, wizards start to outclass everything else. Fighters are pretty good, and they get to specialize in certain circumstances. They just absolutely devastate things that they're fighting against, and of course, rogues can be devastating as well. So yeah, it's a tricky question. Hera's worse than Zeus? Yeah, arguable. You're enjoying the D&D campaign? Cool. Yeah, more of that to come. Are there any canon awesome-sized creatures in Faerun? Not at present, as far as I know. I mean, something like the Kraken should have been. The Zaratan probably could have been an awesome-sized creature. I mean, it's supposed to be a turtle the size of an island. Still want that video on the Book of Wild Darkness. Yep. Would drow do that though? Would they take people and give them to the Illithids on purpose? I don't know if the drow exactly would work in the Illithids' best interests. Do I have a particular set of questions or advice for fleshing out a player character? I'm making a half-drow conquest paladin who is usually relatively reserved but has anger issues. So when you're looking at your character's skill set, their background, their motivations, their bonds and things like that, try and tie them in with the other players in the group if you are playing with other people. And tie them into talk with the DM and say, okay, I want a background option where I've got a place where I can go and get resources from or get answers or possibly call on them for aid. So can we talk about how I tie my character into the background? And that way it gives you a channel to feed my character specific goals and things that I need to pursue in the game, along with the quest that we're doing. If anything also combines with that. and if I manage to pull off any of those quests, what sort of perks and benefits could I unlock for my character? That's the way that you approach a DM for extra perks for your character, where you say, look, I want like plots and things which tie me into the campaign world. I want to learn more about the campaign world, and I want to have a character that influences what's going on in your campaign. So that is adding to the DM's fun as well, because that's really engaging for a dungeon master to have a player who says that when they're making their character. And when it comes time to fluff those dice so that your character doesn't die because the DM has tied them into the plot of their world, they don't want your character to die either. So it's a pretty smart way to play, and it's also very fun. Best ways to play naked. Dragonspawn canon, yeah, they are. In Sithrune, what's my inspiration for the world building? I got a little bit bored with playing a regular world. What I wanted to do with Sithrune is examine a dystopian sort of setting which is very, very high fantasy and high adventure. So I also wanted a very, very descriptive narrative game where I was talking about fantastical things. And in the last game session that we had, I felt that I really pulled it off in that I was describing this a sweltering caldera full of a jungle forest of fungus with these snail folk, interdimensional travelers and things like that. And it was just the players that were sitting there just sort of really imagining what was going on, and I was getting really into the description, and they were instantly engaged with the NPCs, and it just felt really comfortable. It was good. Map making software. I'm not so much an expert on map making software. I do it kind of the old-fashioned way. Check out my community tab. I think I posted a link to something which allows you to turn a 2D image of a world map into an actual rotating 3D globe, which is really cool. Yeah, so black powder, or smoke powder, as they call it in Forgotten Realms, has a recent addition to the Sword Coast from the island of Lantern, because it was given to them by Gond, the god of technology. Getting pregnant from a celestial gives you warlock powers, and you give birth to an Asmar, I think. Yeah, probably. Sounds about right. Well, that's interesting. You get your players to make one of each NPC class rolled up, then tell me their relationship, then you place those NPCs into your world. That's a really interesting idea for world building. So you get the players to make up a bunch of random characters. They get to pick one that they're playing, and then the rest of them get inserted into the game. So they actually come across the characters that they invented themselves. Interesting. Derp. That's hilarious. This guy knows how drow think. A 100-eyed beholder. Crikey. Illustray cleric. For the viewers at home, I'm just reading through these guys talking to each other. They're talking about drow at the moment. Never bed a fae, not even once. Will you make a campaign setting book for Sithroon? I love your content and it would be really cool to see. I recommend your videos to my players for the lore info as well. Yeah, so the Sithroon content is it's not like Forgotten Realms stuff. It's quite different. I am going to be writing a fiction story based in Sithroon in the form of a novel. Whether I'll actually make a world book out of it or not, I'm not entirely sure. I'd like to as a long-term project, but I can't make any promises. I'm certainly enthusiastic enough to pull it off, but that's an awful lot of work, and I do have a pretty intense schedule of making videos and stuff in the first place because I write all these scripts for these videos. What do I think about using recharge for multi-attacks? Yeah, it's a mechanic. Hey, X-Poison. Hey, Bryce. Was that the Carol Channing voice that you just used there? Hey, cutie. Yeah, it lets you make a 2D map into a globe. Hang on, I'll see if I can find you the link for that because it's really cool. Where would I have left it? I'm pretty sure I left, if somebody wants to go to the community tab and find where I left the link for that, because I don't know where I left it. I had a link to it somewhere. It's a disappeared. But for sure, yeah, there is a way to do it. For those of you who have just joined us here at the Mighty Glue Stick live stream, I finished my entire plate of Mesopotamian blue cheese. What are your thoughts on a Ratatosk with a penchant for needles? I think they should take up Chinese herbal medicine and acupuncture. Like looking at a Monet, yeah. Have you ever run a completely underwater campaign? No, not yet. I have had episodes which took place underwater, but not for an extended period of time and not for the whole campaign, no. No, it's not G-plates. See you later, Morgan. Nice to see you. Elite Cavalry Hippogriff Knights. Well, I'm going to be doing a video on the hippogriff soon, and it will serve to illustrate that hippogriffs are actually more popular than griffins as riding mounts, because they're less likely to kill you. Oh, thanks, Bryce. I'm back. Hi, White Watcher. Hey, Greenside. Nice to see you. All you guys putting political reflections in D&D. I can't talk about any of this. Oh, I just saw a chat by YouTube itself talking about using profanity in videos, and they said as long as there's no profanity of a like nasty nature in the title of your video, and you don't have any profanity in the first 5 minutes of your video, you should be okay. So what they're essentially saying is in the live stream where it's been going for an hour or so, I can suddenly start saying swear words and nobody will know. It won't affect the monetization at all. Interesting. Good night. Good night from Norway. You are most welcome. Hopefully one day I'll come and see you. A sea turtle wizard. Nice. Who the heck beds a goddess and moves on? Yeah, true. You put the link in its own post in the community tab. It's after the one with the lamp cover you're planning on painting. Right, that's the one. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm actually going to paint Cicerone onto that lamp cover, because I've come to actually really like that lamp shade for my bedside lamp. And also every time somebody comes around to visit me, they go, "What's that?" And it's kind of turned into a talking point. So funny. Yeah, swear words. Yeah, exactly. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about, Gerbil. Any room for glooms? Glooms? Where are glooms from? Is that modern canons? Are they? Is that from one of the modern ones? Sounds familiar. Shadowfell for sure. So we can say stuff like Rafflemow now? Yes, you can. No. That's not a swear word. You cannot say that ever. Yeah, smash the like button, guys. Smash the like button. Have I done a vid on Dagon? Yeah, I have. Have we ever actually heard Mr. Pickett swear? Yes, you have. The time that my channel got demonetized, I certainly did swear on a live stream for sure. Are we ready? On your marks, get set. Motherfucker. There you go. BitChute, yep. I send AJ money to publicly embarrass myself. See, this is why I've got these guys in this game, because they're hilarious. Bryce, Jada, and Russell are fantastic dudes, and I like hanging out with them. They are my friends. I'm saying that just to embarrass them. Nope. Up from the depths, 40 stories tall. Master Dagon. Fish smelling. Do I think doppelgangers have sweat glands? No, they probably don't. In fact, a lot of the lore says doppelgangers have got a problem with salt. AJ swore. Faints. More. Man love. Alright, everybody. It is that time. Time for me to go. Namely because I'm sweating my ass off in the 62% humidity in my room here. I keep the windows closed so you don't hear birds and stuff on the outside. I don't know what the next Wizard of the Coast book is about. Your guess is as good as mine, Gadzooks. Oh, Glooms are in the Epic Handbook? Great. Yeah, I'll definitely do a video on them then. BDSM troglodytes. No. It's got to be a BDSM Sahawagan. Or Kotoa. Have a pleasant evening, everybody. It's been great catching up with you once again. I'll be back the same day, the same time next week. My time, it'll be about 11 a.m. and I'll be streaming till about 12 p.m. It'll be extended as usual by any live super chat tips that people give me. That will extend the length of the streams. And thank you very much for everybody who contributed today. It really does encourage me, and thank you all for all the kind words about encouraging me to continue making all the content that I do. I do it for you based on your requests. If you have any problems with my videos, always feel free to critique them in the posts. Just however you wish. I'm always looking to improve, and that's the way I do it. So thank you very much, and I will catch you guys later. By the way, I also take suggestions for which cheese I should try next in the live stream, since that seems to be a thing now.